Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday, December the 9th. We're so pleased to have you in for another episode of the Primetime program. We have job security questions to talk about. In fact, job security questions were answered today at Brian Callahan's recap press conference after this abysmal 10-6 defeat of the Tennessee Titans at the hand of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, you may say, well, these questions are unfair. You may have wanted this guy fired yesterday. You may not want anybody currently employed with that organization to still have their jobs after what was the game that you can almost always count on them to win in the last basically 2 decades of their existence, more than 2 decades of their existence, and yet still this team with better football players and home field advantage managed only 2 field goals and a 4-point loss to the visiting Jags, who left here victorious. And I mean, there's not much more to say about that. We teed off on it last night. We talked about it for 3 hours on radio today. I made my feelings known about, listen, it does not make sense to clear house today, but the kind of loss that they experienced yesterday is the kind that typically gets people fired at year's end. I don't know if they're going to make any changes of consequence at year's end or not. But at 3-10 and having lost to that team at home this year, it is completely fair to start asking questions to Brian Callahan about his level of job security at this point. So he did, to his credit, he answered those questions in stride today. He handled today's press conference, I thought, significantly better than he did yesterday's press conference, and that was certainly a moment of tone deafness in real time, but there's only so much that this person can do. He's the only one required to take questions. He's the only one who has to meet with the media near daily. So ultimately, he's left a bit, and I know he answered a question about this today and said, no, he didn't feel like he was left on an island. But because he is the person having to answer for all of this, and not Amy Adams Strunk, not Rand Carthon, Chad Brinker, or anybody else who gets to do their thing in the background and only have to take questions in the case of Carthon once or twice a year. I think it's closer to 3 times a year, depending on Senior Bowl, maybe 4 or 5. But still, you understand that Brian Callahan is the only one who has to get out there in front of us damn near each and every day. So we are going to talk about what Brian Callahan had to say today. We'll also talk about this Monday Night Football game, given that it features your next opponent. You've gotten a bunch of opponents on short weeks so far this season. It'll be the Bengals at the Cowboys tonight. And, of course, Cincinnati travels here next on that short week of rest to try and continue to improve upon their misfortunes this season, because both of these teams are down bad right now, Dallas and Cincy. Tennessee, obviously, eliminated from playoff contention yesterday. So there's a couple of different things here to talk about, but they've still got something to play for. They have to play for their coach's job. Because if he loses to the Bengals, to the Jags again, to the Colts and the Texans, as it's entirely possible that they are capable of doing, then we are likely talking about a one-and-done situation here for the current coaching administration. Before we get into the discussion, need you guys to share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You're always so good to do so. Rashid wants to know, what vacation bookings have I already made? My girlfriend did ask me about where we're going on vacation. I want to say yesterday, somewhere warm. She's thinking somewhere tropical. I have not yet made my after-season plans because there's still Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, Super Bowl, Combine, all these things that are in the very near future, which obviously are going to be very, very important for this team. But while the good teams are still playing in the postseason, it's entirely likely that I'm going to an island or a beach somewhere. I'll keep you guys informed as to when I plan on taking my vacation time. But we're not there yet. We got to talk about this football team, this football coach, and whether or not this person's job should continue to be safe, or as safe as he currently is for the time being. Share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Comment section if you are so inclined. Retweet it on Twitter, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left. YouTube, Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel, text a friend the link if you're so inclined. Text it to 5 friends tonight. I'd like to see some new commenters every once in a while. I love to see you guys who show up for me each and every night. And God knows I love you even more at 3 and 10 because it would be very, very easy for all of you to check out on me. But, we would like to continue to grow the profile of the Primetime Show. So maybe text a link to a friend or 5. And we'll enjoy that growing experience together as we talk about how your football team is going to grow from this nonsense. Browning says, go to Costa Rica. Well, I don't think I've ever been to Costa Rica. Perhaps we will do some research. Either way, there's at least 4 more football games standing between me and a beach and an island somewhere. So we'll talk about that in the meantime. Welcome into A to Z Sports Primetime from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. Welcome. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at the TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Speaking of diehard Titans fans, Worth Campbell, who owns TrueMath Fitness, he is at every Titans home game. He was at that debacle yesterday. You can commiserate with him as you get your first workout free at TrueMathFitness.com. By Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. And of course, Zen Sports, where betting just got better. We have about 15, 20 minutes for you guys to get your Monday Night Football bets in on the Cowboys and the Bengals. Of course, you can bet on all your favorite major sports in the Zen Sports app with that promo code ATOZTN that you see just over my shoulder here. John Vargas says, you're stuck with us, Buck. LOL. Jordan Miller says, I'm here every night, and I think I need to see a therapist after a 3-year gap. You and me both, brother. I'm telling you. Darren says, we will support you, Buck, despite the aggravation from this team. Well, I am grateful for your support. As always, Rick Bates says, I don't know which team sucks worse, the Preds or the Titans. Sad boy radio, man. It's tough. It's really bad. The Predators are off to the worst start in franchise history. It's crazy. Professional sports appears to be cursed in the city of Nashville. And both of these teams have a lot of similarities. And honestly, it's ironic to say that the Titans might be better off between the two of them because the season is at least almost over. And it's entirely possible that the Preds fire Coach Andrew Brunette at some point this season, given that they're teetering around the halfway point here in the very, very near future. B-Friend says, Buck, they showed Jelly Roll on the broadcast Sunday. He looks so sad. Yeah, because he's a diehard Titans fan. And he hates, he goes to these games just as often as some of you guys do. And I'm sure he's just as miserable as you guys are. In fact, I've talked to Jelly about this on a regular basis. We have had several extensive conversations about this football team, but he's from Antioch, Tennessee, so he continues to support them the way that not a lot of people would be so willing to support them. Now, one of the people that he has expressed support for, and that many of you had expressed support for, is Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan's first year as the Titans head coach has been a nightmare. I don't know that it's all his fault. I don't know that it's not, a direct result of this being an organization that has a lot of dysfunction to do with it. I said today on the radio, every NFL organization is dysfunctional at some level. Some NFL organizations who are rife with dysfunction just have good enough players to cover it up. And I believe, based on the way that this team has operated and has been run since Amy Adams-Strunk took over, I believe that Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and Michael Vrabel were most responsible for covering up this team's dysfunction. Now, at the end, wasn't enough, right? 7 wins, 6 wins. There's only so much magic that collection of people and the team that was built around them from 2018, which was Mike's first year, to 2023, obviously, which was the final year that he was the head coach here. That feels like an eternity ago, given how bad this season has gone. I do think that the 3 of them and the rest of the pieces and parts along the way did well to cover up a lot of this dysfunction. But the Titans are absolutely a dysfunctional organization because every NFL team is a dysfunctional organization. This one just happens to be showcasing a lot of it because they don't have good enough players or, right now, good enough coaches to cover up for that dysfunction. It's a very, very different world that this exists in. Theron says, no need to hire a new coach. Let the man cook. I heard he got the recipe. Well, that's what I was told about the general manager situation too. And I mean, how many wins does Ran Carthon have in his first 2 years as the Titans general manager? I mean, he's got to be like 9-30 or something like that at this point in time, and that is completely unacceptable. Now, I know he's not directly responsible for the product on the field, but the ingredients, the recipe has been shitty, and the ingredients have been very, very underwhelming across the board. So it's a failure on everybody's part, right? It's not just Callahan's job security that we should be talking about. It's everybody's at 3-10, and they understand that, right? It's just that Brian has to get up and talk to us more often than anybody else. So Brian Callahan did so today, and that's where we'll start with your Two Rivers Ford take. Are you for or against firing Brian Callahan after 1 year? That allows for the full season, so 4 games remaining. By the time we get to, a month from now, essentially, are you for or against firing Brian Callahan after 1 year on the job for the Tennessee Titans, given how spectacularly wrong the season has gone and his part to play in it, which he has some part. He is not solely responsible for how shitty this season has been, but he has not been able to duct tape over some of these things the way that his predecessor was famous for doing, right? Titans had way more injuries, and maybe you can blame Vrabel for that if you want to. I don't think there's any evidence to blame Vrabel for the rate of injury that the Titans experienced basically from 21 to 23. But Mike was winning a hell of a lot more games with a hell of a lot less talent on this roster, and he did not have the benefit of health the way that Brian Callahan has largely had the benefit of the health of this football team for most of his key contributors. Now, there's been some guys who have gone down. I don't expect that we'd see Snead likely for the rest of the year at this point. Cheeto Uzi had just got back in the lineup. Lloyd Cushenberry has been done for a matter of, about a month at this point in time with an Achilles injury, and that's no sure thing that he's going to be able to seamlessly return from that after a calendar year, basically at the halfway point of the NFL season. For or against firing the head coach after 1 year on the job? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can react. We'll talk about it together. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. It's made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com for more information. They make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun. They offer you great prices and great financing. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. For or against the firing of Brian Callahan? Paul Guerra says, came late. Is this live? Yes, Paul. Hello. How are you? Welcome. You shouldn't be late. Be on time next time. I think that everything else that's going on with the Titans right now, there's a lot. It's really easy to assign blame to just one person. Now, for a good chunk of the season, that person was Will Levis. Then it became very much focused on Colt Anderson. Then in recent weeks, it has been mostly about Brian Callahan. And by the way, it's all fair, including everybody that can be fired from this organization that directly impacts the product on the field, save the owner, because you can't fire ownership. Everybody is on the chopping block, is on the hot seat this year. Now, just because you're on the hot seat doesn't mean that you end up getting cooked, right? You don't end up getting fired just because you're on the hot seat. But when the results are as hideous as this one is, and you perform as poorly as this team did specifically yesterday in front of a home crowd, a half-filled home stadium, pretty tough look for ownership, who was, of course, in attendance, as they are always in attendance for every home game. And Brian Callahan answers the press conference questions yesterday the way that he does, in ways that make, steam pour from plenty of Titans fans' ears. Frankly, I felt like it was a slap in the face the way that he responded to some of this stuff. And in fact, Bert, I don't see the video that I need to go to here from Brian Callahan at your convenience, if you would be so kind. But he did answer questions about his job security today. So Brian Callahan, obviously 3-10. He's the former Bengals offensive coordinator. He's now a head coach and responsible for everything. And this has been a really, really tough thing for them to try and get a handle on. Now, ultimately, for Brian Callahan, I think that they should at least give him until the end of the year. I am not a proponent for firing people in season, and I reserve the right to continue to adapt my opinion based on new information that will become available in the next month or so, as we look to finish out this 2024 season that has been an unrelenting suffering for everybody involved, including that man right there, Brian Callahan. But there's a couple of schools of thought to this on how a team like the Titans that did replace so much and getting so little in return for it should handle this situation. Because I see a lot of you, it looks like mixed emotions here. MB says I can fire ownership. It just means I can find a new team to cheer for. That's a good point. And listen, be well within your rights. If many of you, I know it would be a cardinal sin for a lot of you to become Baltimore Ravens fans, but I wouldn't blame you one bit if you decided that you're just going to pull for Derrick Henry for the rest of his career. And whether he's a Baltimore Raven or a Dallas Cowboy or wherever Derrick ends up, as he tries to continue to solidify his Hall of Fame resume, then I'm not going to fault you for that at all. He's fun to watch, and this team isn't. They don't have a star anymore. Their biggest star on the football team is Jeffrey Simmons. The best player on the football team is Jeffrey Simmons. That's all well and good, but Jeff alone is not enough, even though he has put together quality games in spurts this year. But you expect all those dudes, whether it's Calvin Ridley, Harold Landry, Jeffrey Simmons, L'Jarius Sneed, who's obviously been unavailable, for the compensation that they are due, you expect them to perform at a much higher level, and obviously that level has not been met this year. MB says, so, fire ownership, just pick a new team. Brian Malone says he is in favor of firing Brian Callahan. He is in over his head. Alan Rogers says the real question is, what has Brian done to not get fired? Well, there's just got to be a level. It's a good question, right? Like, what has Brian Callahan done to not get fired? The offense is awful. The red zone offense is particularly inept. He walked through some of the red zone plays today, specifically in his press conference, and may have been well designed, but Levis just missed some opportunities. And yesterday was not a good Levis game. Paul Guerra says, let's not forget Pollard. He's playing his ass off. Wish everyone was playing the same way. Yeah, Tony Pollard's excellent. I wish Tony Pollard was on a better football team than this one. I feel bad for Tony because there's no way that his body feels good. And he's got Levis up there bitching at the podium about his sprained AC joint, understandably so, because his coach put him in position with 1 second left in the half to get absolutely killed on that play from Josh Hines-Allen, who just obliterated him as time expired and sacked the quarterback, left him in a pile of himself, and caused a re-aggravation of that throwing shoulder. Point is, nobody feels good about how this has gone right now. Ocho says, is he the worst rookie head coach this season? No. What's going on with the Patriots? Now, I know the Patriots are on a bye, or were on a bye. Yeah, I mean, it's technically still week 14, so they are on a bye or getting ready to come off of their bye, but they're squarely in fourth place in the AFC East with 3 wins. They've got the same record as the Titans right now. They've lost 3 straight. The Titans have lost 2 straight since beating the Texans a couple of weeks ago, but they have the same home record, 1-5. They have the same road record, 2-5. They're basically the same football team. Titans have actually scored more points than the Patriots have, but the Patriots have allowed fewer points to be scored on them. So both teams having some level of, serious flaw with while still having some differences in why they have found themselves in the season that they have found themselves in. So no, he's tied for the worst rookie head coach with Gerard Mayo, who is also being talked about as whether he should be one and done or not. Jay says if they sweep Houston, then he gets another year. I'd agree with that assessment, especially because Houston is week 18. They'll be wearing the Houston Oilers uniforms, and we know how much Amy likes that. But I don't see it. I don't see that based on that team that lost to Jacksonville today. But I don't know. I guess there's stranger things that happen. Anyway, Brian Callahan was asked questions about his job security. You'll hear from him here in just a second, right after I remind you that the Primetime program made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. Get the intel edge you need to succeed at GaryAshton.com. This was Brian Callahan at the podium earlier today.
It's a results-driven business, and your job is leading. Mm-hmm. What's your strategy the rest of the way to lead these guys to the finish line?
To me, it's pretty straightforward. My job is to continue to build what I believe in as far as the process goes. I told this exact same thing to the team this morning, that these 4 games are very important for us. They're important games, and even though we're out of playoff contention and there's nothing to play for in the postseason, these are important games for what we're trying to set for the future. And there's a time and a place, to be honest, and today was one of them where, look, the season isn't what we want it to be. But there's a lot of things that I believe in our process and how we go about our business, the type of things that we do, and there's a lot of examples across the tape in that game even of what it's supposed to look like. And that's where I trust in what we do and how we do it. And I made it very clear to the players too, that that's all those things are good. We're doing things the right way. We haven't seen the results we needed to see. We've lost some close games. We've lost games that I felt like we've been in position to win and haven't made a play or two to win. But I still think you always go back to when you're trying to build a foundation for what's going to be hopefully sustainable success in the future. These things all matter. Every bit of it matters. And how we play in these games matters. How we finish the season matters. How we practice every day still matters. We got a lot of young players. We got people that are going to be here. Every year you change your roster, but there's a lot of players here that are going to be here for 2025. And it's a huge part of getting ready to continue to build for what comes next. And I think it's okay to be honest about that and say that, but that's a huge part of what these next 4 games is continue to try to set the foundation for what's expected in the future and try to continue to build on what I think are a lot of really good and positive things from a process standpoint and a people standpoint that I think will lead to wins and success moving forward. And we haven't had a chance to show that with 3 wins, obviously. And then there's been moments we've played a brand of football that's not good enough. And we got to keep finding ways to fix that and keep moving forward.
You feel certain there is a future?
Oh, what do you mean?
For you?
Oh, yeah, I don't worry about that stuff. That's not for me to worry about. I do everything every day to do my job the best way I possibly can. I put everything into this as much as there's nobody that thinks about how to build this program and what we need to do more than I do. And so, yeah, I don't worry myself with anything other than that at this point. And again, there's things that I can't control, and so I don't focus on that. I focus on what it's going to take to build a program that and build a foundation to a program that's going to allow us to have success in the future. That's my only focus. It's the only thing I think about.
As you look at these last.
So that's Brian Callahan speaking with the media earlier today. And I think that's a pretty honest explanation about where they're at right now. It's also a fair question to ask him about whether he thinks he's going to be around for the future that he is referencing and the things that they're trying to build towards. It's a really difficult position. Again, just like Will Levis, I don't envy what Brian Callahan has had to go through this year. I think some of it, I think a good deal of it is self-inflicted, just as I think Will Levis's mistakes have been self-inflicted, just as I think some of Rand Carthon's missteps have been self-inflicted. But it is not a situation that you would wish on any person because these jobs are incredibly stressful. I know it's sports. I know they're well compensated, but that does not negate the level of stress that they can bring in these spots. So with all of that being said, am I for or against firing Brian Callahan at the end of the year? Here's what I'll say. Right now, I'm against. But if they lose out, and I'll be honest, I don't really care about close games. Right now, on Monday, December the 9th, I'm against. I think that this person should have an opportunity to have a quarterback competition, at least, instead of just being handed Will Levis. Although somebody, and I don't know who it was, but somebody in this organization convinced Amy Adams Strunk that Brian Callahan was going to be capable of putting Will Levis together and building him up, and they've clearly failed in that department to date, and will set himself back as well on Sunday. He's not obviously blameless in all of this either. On December the 9th, I'm against. If they go over in the next month, then I'm going to be in favor of cleaning house, and that's top to bottom. I'll tell you that right now. They cannot underachieve that substantially after feeding everybody a bunch of bullshit about Lombardi Trophy aspirations at the beginning of the year. And by the way, that's what every NFL owner would ever say about every coach or general manager they've ever hired. That's what you have to say. You can't say, we'd like to make a conference championship or something like that, or maybe just win the division a couple times. That's good enough for me. No, you always say that you have Lombardi Trophy aspirations, but you've never felt farther from it since Ken Whisenhunt was here. and that's arguably one of the lowest points, if not the lowest point in the franchise's Titans era. So right now, I'm for he gets till the end of the year, I think fairly. But I think that they need to at least split these next 4 games. I think that they need to win one. I think they need to try and win one more at home, given that they play the Bengals and Texans at home. I think they need to win one on the road. They need to go to Jacksonville or Indianapolis and show they're capable of doing at least what the Jags just did to them. If they can't accomplish that, then we need to reevaluate the position. But right now, I would be against firing Brian Callahan before 2025. There's a couple of different things here to that, because there's a completely fair school of thought that says, well, what if you're going to just fire this person? Say she does it like Wisenhunt, right? Where she didn't hire Ken Wisenhunt. Wisenhunt was kind of, was passed down to her. She then takes over in Wisenhunt's second season, and she decides, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to fire him halfway through. They made the interim move with Mularkey. They ended up retaining Mularkey. That was her decision, and then hired a GM after the fact to work with Mike Mularkey in John Robinson, who then very quickly decided that he was not going to be good enough with Mike Mularkey and ran him off for Mike Vrabel. She could keep Callahan in 2025 and decide to fire him halfway through the way that she did Wiz. Now, she didn't hire Wisenhunt, and that's also an important part of the discussion here. So maybe if she decides she's going to roll with him in 2025, that she's going to stick with him throughout 2025. But she also told Diana Rossini, in not so many words, halfway through last year, that what was the whole line? Ready, steady, Vrabel. And then they fired Mike Vrabel in week 17 or week 18 at season's end on that Tuesday. Actually, we are 11 months, not quite a year, but 11 months removed from them firing Mike Vrabel to the day. He was fired on January 9th. Today is December the 9th. MB says, why though? They are one of the 4 worst teams in the league. Why should we expect them to win a game? Oh, no, I don't expect them to win a game. No, they get no expectations from me. Who said anything about expectations? But prove that you have something right. He had a whole bit at the start of the season about earning the right for expectations. Well, they have earned no right for expectations, so they will receive none. I have 0 expectations that this football team will win another game throughout the rest of the season. They are not better than any of the teams that they will play definitively, and Jacksonville just settled it with a head-to-head yesterday. They've already lost one of the Colts. They have beaten the Texans. I dare them to do it again. And Cincinnati is not a good football team right now, but it's entirely possible that they come in here, given that they're averaging 35 points per game, and you just scored 6 on Sunday. So I'm sitting here saying, reserve the right to change my opinion. Right now, I'm against. If you're going to just fire him halfway through next year anyway, then maybe you just do it at the end of 2024 and call it done, move on. But right now, I think he should at least get another opportunity. We'll see where the next month takes us. And that's kind of where we're at with this thing. Connor Kills says, Buck, how hot do you believe Callahan's seat is? If it's not warm, it better. No, everybody's seat is hot at 3-10. Again, everybody that involves the on-field football product can get got when your football team is 3-10, especially with a loss like yesterday. A loss like yesterday gets people fired. It didn't get people fired today necessarily, but it can still be pointed to after the fact if you choose to make a move at the end of the year. Say, you know what, just wasn't good enough. We can find somebody else that can do better than 3 wins. We'll reset the board and try again. And I'm not completely opposed to that when it's been as bad as it has been, if they can't find a way to win at least another game this season. Browning says, seriously, does anyone think we will even score 20 points in these last 4 games? You mean total? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what you're going to do. I have no idea what football team I'm going to watch. I just know that they've been bad collectively, and that, they feel the brunt of that shame at this point in time. And understandably, there just may not be anything that they can do to fix it as well, which is a huge or a very frustrating component in all of this. But I'm against right now, but I reserve the right to change my mind a month from today, when finally, mercifully, I've never in my life wished away NFL football games as a reporter. This is never really, it still doesn't feel like a real job because, it's still really, really fun. I can just travel the country talking about professional football, covering professional football. But that, this has not been professional football this season. This has felt more like a job than it ever has. And, nobody feels bad for me. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not asking for your sympathy there, but I've never in my life wished away games of an NFL season because I hate the off season. I want to cover games. I want to talk about football. I want to cover meaningful football. And they've just completely wasted a year of all of our lives. Just completely wasted it. You, me, everybody in between. Them, they wasted a year of their lives too. This has been a really, really bad. All right. In case you missed it, is what we will go to next. Bert's laughing at me or laughing at something behind the scenes. The Bengals and the Cowboys are officially underway, so we'll see what Bert has to say right after I remind you the primetime program made possible by TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free as a Middle Tennessee resident. No workout ever recycled or repeated. TrueMathFitness.com for more information. The best workout in Middle Tennessee is TrueMathFitness.com. Hello, Bert.
What's going on?
You were just bragging to me about your camera. Your camera still looks just as blurry as it ever does. I don't think that you want to be in higher definition than you already are, given the way that you just generally exist. Unless, like the company Christmas party the other day, you just want to jump in front of every camera now that you got your braces off. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, look at them teethers. I said I look like when you Photoshop teeth in dogs.
Yeah.
When you see dogs smiling, it looks like I shouldn't have anything. Like these are fake. Anyway, since the game's already kicked off, we're like 6 minutes into the game. There are two viewing options tonight. You could watch standard definition on regular television with regular broadcasters, or you can watch the Simpsons version.
The Simpsons Fun Day Football is coming to Springfield. Bart and his buddies are joining the Bengals, while Homer and friends team with the Cowboys. With Bart, Homer, and their pals right in the action. Watch the Simpsons Fun Day Football between the Bengals and the Cowboys, Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Disney Plus and ESPN Plus.
I do love the Simpsons.
Sorry, I was frozen there for a second. What'd you say?
You weren't frozen. You were moving.
I definitely was frozen. What'd you say? God, this is such a good idea. I love how good of an idea this is, because today I was thinking small. I was like, oh, what else could they do this with? Like, it's kind of limited. Like, what else is a big enough IP? It's because I was thinking about what Fox owns, what ESPN owns, what Paramount owns, right? But now, once there's a proof of concept for this, why wouldn't Nintendo have? If you're telling me they wouldn't have an NFL Tendo, or somebody else would figure out how to say it better than I could, but like a Mario watch-along NFL game. Yeah. People who never watch football will be like, I'll watch Mario, or, which I think this, selfishly, I think this would be the best draw. If you had a Pokemon watch-along.
That would be interesting.
I would watch that twice, 3 times, 4 times. Like, there's the scenario. Yeah, look at that. Karen knows what's up.
Do the show. Don't get
distracted. The check is in the mail,
the first nice
the
thing
check
somebody
is
says
in the
to
mail.
The check is in the mail is the worst broadcaster line ever. Shame on you. Finish.
Well, I'm not a broadcaster. This is what I think about you. You're lucky I just knocked all my shelving off earlier, so that's available. Anyway,
you light up because he wants to show off his smile.
Are you team Bart tonight, or are you team Homer?
Who is team Homer?
Homer is for the Cowboys, obviously.
Oh no, I can't root for the Cowboys.
So you would have to be with Bart and the Bengals.
I'll be team Bart. I cannot encourage the Cowboys, anything that the Cowboys do. I am anti-Cowboys. I'm tired of them being called America's team. They are not my America's team.
Who do you think America's team is now? Is it the Chiefs? You think the Chiefs took it?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that literally, when he started dating Taylor Swift, they became America's team.
That's probably the intersection of pop culture and sports there. I hope
what the Simpsons broadcast is, but
Hey, there we go. I hope the Bengals eat shorts tonight and the Cowboys win, because I would just love the Bengals to get stuffed farther into that basement of just purgatory, picking 14 to 19 every year, never getting an elite player, never getting a bad player, just constantly wasting Joe Burrow's window. That's what I'm looking for.
I hope that you get everything that your heart desires. Connor says that I have a Miller Lite behind the camera. No, I don't drink beer. I drink tequila. This would be a lot more fun if we were drunk. But thank you, Bert. Well done.
Yep, no problem.
That's going to do it for us tonight here on the Primetime program. We appreciate your participation as always, as Bert cycles through all the shots that we have available for you. No, this is not the 615 Sessions podcast. This has been A to Z Sports Primetime, and there's our friend Ron Jeremy just to close things out, as is the custom. Radio show tomorrow. A lot of college football discussion. Tennessee in the college football playoff, hosting, or rather traveling to Ohio State. Will be a great time. Stephen King says, give us a cat update. Ooh, I do have a cat update, because here's the thing. All right. So you guys know I have cats. All right. Most of you know that the reason, because I'm not a pet person, but the reason that I have cats is because I found two little fluff balls about the size of my palm about 3 years ago in my trash can, because in Germantown / North Nashville, there are alley cats. So what did I find in my yard recently? 2 more kittens. Now, I have since got them spayed and neutered. It's a little boy and a little girl. They're very, very sweet. I am going to post on my social media because, of course, I do not want them. Well, they're very sweet. We would keep them if we could, I guess, but no chance. I can't have more cats in the house. So I've been working with the Nashville Cat Rescue, the Nashville Humane Society, to get them adopted. Their names are Luna and OJ, because Grace named the cat after Orenthal James Simpson, and I've been calling him Juice. So there's Juice and Luna. They're going to be available for adoption. I'm going to post their Nashville Cat Rescue links, their petfinder.com links, on my social media channels, and we would love to find these little fellas, a great home for the holidays, because they cannot stay in my house anymore. This is entirely too much. American Toff says Buck equals crazy cat lady. Yeah, I mean, listen, they're cats of the shit. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially for somebody who travels a lot for work. I love mine, but I cannot have any more of these animals in my house. They need to go. B Friend says, put some money behind it, Buck. I've already, you know how much money I spent on these damn cats that aren't mine at this point, between vet bills. We got them spayed, neutered, got their FIV tests. We got them I've even got microchips for you if you would like to take these cats home. I would love for them to find a home for Christmas, because again, they cannot stay here. There are too many animals in my house at this point in time. I have a litter robot, which is great. It's the most expensive toilet in the house, but at this point, I don't need any more cats here. Caleb Gray says, not just any cat lady. Buck is the crazy cat lady from The Simpsons, literally throwing them at people, trying to get them to take one of these cats, get them out of here. But just trying to do a little good for some animals in need. And Proverbs Animal Rescue with Lisa Manning has helped us out a lot. Nashville Cat Rescue has helped us out a lot. So if you would be interested in bringing home a couple of kittens for the holidays for your family, they're very sweet. They need to go together. They're what they call a bonded pair. But I'll have more information hopefully for you on social media after the fact. B Friend says, I bet your house stinks. No, brother, I have house cleaners. I don't. In what world do you think me, somebody who is infinitely a neat freak, and has 2 animals that are the most clean kind of animals one could possibly have, and an $800 litter robot, just so I don't have to deal with the mess? No, it's a 3-bedroom house. It's okay. It's going to be okay. But I understand the notion, because anytime you consider multiple cats in a home, there's typically a smell that comes associated with it. But that is not the case, fortunately for me. And shout out, no free ads, because my house cleaners don't advertise with me. But if they did, I would highly recommend them, because they are excellent. Anyway, that's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone tomorrow. I will see you there.
Go home! Go home!